Greetings, everyone. Tommy Hawksblood here. There's a lot going on. TJ should be joining us rather frequently, shortly. I have somebody calling in too as well. Let me see if I can just open the chat room real fast and see if we can get this rolling. I hope you saw the topic for today. It's going to be a little hardcore. We're going to go into all aspects of it. But we shall see. Let me just see if I get the chat room up. I'm still waiting. All right. I'm pulling the chat room up. Sorry about that. TJ should be on in a few seconds. I got to call an I will pick her up as soon as I say hello. Let me just see who's on the line. Hello?
Hello? Tommy?
Oh, yes, Bruce.
Yes.
Greetings. How are you? All right.
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Just a few things. I was waiting for TJ to call in. We were having a few problems. But I'll give her a few minutes to call in. Disclaimer, everything you hear is coming from different people. We do not support and agree with everybody, or they agree with us. We're allowing the guest to call in and say and speak his viewpoint. So it's going to be quite interesting. We got a couple different topics to talk about tonight, but I'm going to let him describe who he is, where he is, where he's from. So it's going to be quite interesting. That's double feedback. Oh, man. Can you hear me okay, Bruce?
Yes, I can.
All right. I don't know why I got a double feedback on this, which I shouldn't have.
I just turned off my...
Oh, okay. All right.
My web.
Let me just see what TJ is saying. Oh, well, I don't know if TJ is going to be joining us today or not. So, without further ado, the guest that I have calling in today is Bruce Cornett. We'll let him describe his career and who and what he is, all right? Bruce, can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you well, yes.
All right, greetings.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can say who you are and where you are.
Okay. My name is Bruce Cornett. I'm living in El Paso, Texas at this time, and I got my college education at the University of Connecticut for both a bachelor's and master's degree in paleobotany and a PhD in geology and salinology at Penn State University, graduating in 1977. My career has been in biological evolution, getting involved in fossil record, studying fossils, collecting fossils, and attempting to understand evolution based on what I have been taught in the academic circle. Basically, I started my career out in college back in 1963 and I was approached as a freshman by a holy roller who wanted to teach me about Genesis in the Bible. And I chose instead to go the route of education in the colleges of relative to the established views of evolution. But when I got out into the field later on in my graduate work, I began making discoveries that were quite disturbing. One of the things I would like to do is read from Wikipedia the definition of punctuated equilibrium versus gradualism, which gradualism is based on the Darwin concept of descent with modification, and punctuated equilibrium, which came in with Eldridge and Gould in 1972, talks about how the fossil record does not support the idea of gradualism, but rather of rapid evolution over very short intervals of geologic time, and followed by periods of equilibrium in which there is relatively little evolution in a given group of animals and plants. What I found in the fossil record was more consistent with what Eldridge and Gould did. But I even went further. One of the problems is that the critics of evolution, especially the creationists, have said that there isn't any good evidence of connections between species, that you get these jumps, and therefore there's room for independent interpretation of just what is happening. But generally speaking, everybody who studies the fossil record that I have met is in agreement that that you have a progression of taxon through time that become more advanced and different from those that had preceded in the layers of the rock history. So, in Wikipedia, we have a definition of gradualism and punctuated equilibrium, and I will read that for you. The fossil record includes well-documented examples of both phyletic gradualism and punctuational evolution. As such, much debate persists over the persistence of stasis in the fossil record. Before punctuated equilibrium, most evolutionists considered stasis to be rare or unimportant. The paleontologist George Gaylord Simpson, for example, believed that phyletic gradual evolution, called horotely in his terminology, consisted 90% of evolution. More modern studies, including the meta-analysis examining 58 published studies on speciation patterns in the fossil record, show that 71% of species exhibited stasis and 53% were established with punctuated patterns of evolutionary change. According to Michael Benton, it seems clear then that stasis is common and that had not been predicted from modern genetic studies. A paramount example of evolutionary stasis is the bird Osmunda claytonia. Based on paleontological evidence, it has remained unchanged, even at the level of fossil nuclei and chromosomes, for at least 180 million years. Okay, now that I've established the ongoing debate among scientists, I would like to describe my experiences and what I have found in my studies, and that goes back to graduate school when I was studying the evolution of pollen in the Newark supergroup along the East Coast. At the time, this was between 1973 and 1977, the concept of flowering plant evolution was that there were no flowering plants existing before the Cretaceous period older than 110 to 120 million years ago. That in the fossil record of the early Cretaceous, you see the rapid evolution of flowering plants over a period of maybe 10 to 20 million years to produce all of the different types of flowering plants that we have today in the world. And it was therefore thought that before this period of time, there were no flowering plants. This concept was about to change radically when my work in the late Triassic, which was 100 million years older than the oldest recognized fossil angiosperm, started turning up fossils of angiosperms in both the East Coast and in the West Coast Chinle Formation and Dockham Group. There I found a fossil pollen that was indistinguishable from that of flowering plants. I began realizing that there was something going on that evolutionists and paleontologists did not realize that could happen. One of the most significant events in my career was in 1980 when I went with two friends, took a week's vacation from work, and I worked in the oil industry in Houston, Texas, and we went out to West Texas looking for a location that had been found for the fossil of San Miguelia. San Miguelia is a alleged fossil palm, Triassic palm, that was published by Brown in the 1950s. As a consequence, there was a lot of debate as to whether or not this plant was really truly an angiosperm, because only leaf impressions had been found in the rock record up until my expedition. And on the very last day of that expedition, in April of 1980, we discovered a complete colony of this plant preserved in growth position in Sunday Canyon, near Canyon, Texas, of the Panhandle of Texas. And that change radically shifted the idea of when the earliest angiosperms evolved. But here we have an example of a plant that combines features of both monocots and dicots, the two major divisions of modern-day plants. One in which the seeds germinate, two cotyledons are produced, and the other in which one cotyledon are produced. All the grasses and palms and lilies belong to the monocotyledon. And this plant that we call San Miguelia, we discovered it combined both features of monocots and dicots that are separated today between these two groups. So it looked like a really good example of evolution taking place under the eyes of paleobotanists who were looking in rocks 100 million years younger in order to describe